Holy Cross Men's and Women's Basketball Media Day here for 22-23. I'm Paul Condry. Great that you could join us here today. Tom Robbins spending time with us, women's basketball coach of the Saints. Tommy, coming into year number 4, and I mentioned this to Mike in our earlier segment. I know from his standpoint, there was always some people along the way that influenced their lives and want to be a basketball coach. I know that you're a high school basketball coach. You've done a lot of things at the junior college level and now here at Holy Cross. Who's been the most influential people along the way that put you in a position to be successful as a coach?
Yeah, I think the first person I probably have to talk about is the guy that gave me my start was John Burris. He's a high school basketball coach. Had been at Southwood for about 10 years, and he just got a new job at Mechanical High School, so down in north central Indiana. Started out as an 8th grade boys basketball coach for him. Coached his son and coached his daughter, and he helped me definitely get going.
When you look at the impact that you've had here on the Notre Dame campus here at Holy Cross College, who's been the guy and gals here that along the way who have helped you and honed your skill set here?
Yeah, well, I give credit to Coach McBride. He was kind of the one that got me here. I had a connection with him through a mutual friend that got me the job here. So that was, a great start. And then him getting me acclimated as well. But then I have to give credit to Coach Dobbs. He was here as an assistant coach from the previous situation, and really helped me get acclimated to the program, acclimated to the new girls, acclimated to the history. He's a Holy Cross guy. Helped me get acclimated to the school itself. So Adam was a huge help for us.
Now, obviously, with this group, you've got one senior returning and a very, very talented underclass group that we're going to visit with here today during our time on campus. And obviously, you look at over the course of the time that you've been here, culture and commitment were things that you're trying to build the program on, and those are things that I know that's traditional coach speak, but it really is. You tried to set the mindset and the expectations were here. So can you speak to the setting the culture as you get ready to enter year number 4? And it's not an easy journey for anybody to go. But let's talk about that journey and establishing what your program and the pillars, if you will, of the program.
Yeah, our first year, we didn't have any recruits that I brought in. I inherited the team late in the hiring process. So we really wanted to get across the idea of how we practice, how hard we practice, the intensity that we play with, the passion that we play with. And then in the recruiting aspect of things, we wanted to bring in those kind of kids from great programs, great example, a couple Penn kids that we have that have an expectation of how you go about doing things and have learned that from those great high school coaches that we have. Particularly with Indiana bread and butter kind of situation, a good background there. And if you look at our roster, you'll see we have a lot of Indiana kids. But we talk about sisterhood. We talk about servant leadership. We talk about giving to others, giving back to the community. But putting others before yourself, I think, is the main idea. We really want to pattern things off of that sacrifice. And we're now to the point in year 4 where we're seeing that. There's Jada Miller is the last one left of players that we, that I didn't recruit or assistant coaches that have been with me haven't recruited. So we're almost to a complete turnover of the program, and we really like where we're at in year 4 in terms of that culture. Our practices are great, and the selflessness is great.
Well, let's start right there with Jada Miller. She's your lone senior on the roster, and obviously she's gone through the growing pains with you, as all programs kind of go through. So kind of give us an idea of what the expectations for her. And, of course, she's a local product here from Mishawaka High School. Give us your thoughts on her.
Yeah, she's kind of had a tough 4 years. I think it's been good, but I think it's been challenging. Because as a freshman and a sophomore, she was expected to get shots for us, often in losing situations, to get shots for us. I think it was her sophomore year, she had 30 points against Lincoln, and our second leading scorer had 6. And that was kind of the way things went in our first 2 years. And then last year, with some really great new players that we brought in, and then some of our now juniors who were sophomores in their second year and how they progressed, she had to look at bringing that back in a little bit. We didn't need her to take some of those shots that we wanted her to take in year 1 and year 2, because if she didn't take them, we weren't going to get a shot. whereas in year 3, we had better shots available and on the table. So she had to make an adjustment. I think that's a really tough adjustment for a young person to make, where a coach is saying, take every shot you can take, to, all right, now we need to be a little more choosy. So I felt like she started to understand that as the season went on. Now we're into her senior year, and it's much more of that situation. Now we have some really good players that are sophomores coming back from promising freshman years that are going to be putting up big points, and we need her to do some other things. Not that we don't want her to score. Obviously, we want her to take her opportunities, but there's a lot more to be done from just scoring.
Yeah, when you're not having to really kind of shoulder all the responsibilities to score, and then it changing in midstream, if you will, as a career, that sometimes can make a kind of mess with your head a little bit. But taking a look at the landscape of the Chicagoland Collegiate Athletic Conference as a whole, where do you see the Saints in this? Of course, last year, 15 wins is a pretty good place to be with what you had last year, and great things expected this year. Kind of give us an idea what you think of the league.
Yeah, I think it's a really good. I mean, it's a really good league. We're starting to finally graduate some people. With the COVID fifth year, we've seen a lot of the same kids. We're starting to graduate some of the kids that have been staples, but there's a few more that are still left out there. So we're looking to get into the top 4. I think that will be a challenge, a significant challenge, but it's a challenge that we're ready for. So we want to get in the top 4, host a home game for the first round of the tournament. We're in our 4th year, and we're still really young. I think we were fairly old our first year with a number of seniors, but then have been really young the last 3 years. So we're still pretty young, but we're very promising. So I'm looking for an opportunity for us to move forward. We were 7th last year. I think we can significantly improve on our 15 wins, and I would like to see us move into that top 4.
Well, let's talk about expectations for the rest of the roster.
I think you're going to see some great things out of some people. Grace Adams, she showed some great promise last year, but she's another player this year. I think we're talking about someone that could be one of the conference's best players, along with Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith was Freshman of the Year last year for the conference. Those two with a year of play now, they have a level of confidence that they didn't have before. So now they're taking that to another level, and we saw that in our scrimmages on the first 2 games that we've gotten out on the court. And then Kayleana Hamill has moved forward significantly. She was starting for us as a freshman at the end of the year, but now she's got a lot more confidence. She's really filling the basket up with her scoring. I think she's going to be really good. And Lauren Morris, in terms of her fitness and activity, has moved significantly forward. She's a defensive machine out there, very good passer. We're getting a lot of good stuff out of her. So I think those 3 coming back from last year's team are going to be a surprise for people in terms of how they've moved forward.
It's not a very big roster, unlike Mike's roster where he brought in 10 new guys. You guys have kind of kept that core group, and you've kept the roster size, I think, use the terminology, kind of small. For whatever reason. Can you talk about your philosophy on recruiting and talk about recruiting this year, knowing that with a great core coming back, that a lot of people are going to have to sit, and that may not necessarily have been something that a lot of kids want to do today, is sit and learn.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be tough. We've had freshmen the last few years just be able to step right in and play with where we were at. So I think that's going to be a challenge for some people. Understanding their roles and being able to fit into their roles, and knowing that playing time sometimes is going to get sacrificed in that situation. We like to have a roster of 12. That's ideal for us. We're a little light this year. We had some setbacks and that sort of thing for this year, but the 10 players that we have, I think, are the right 10, and that's the key. We would definitely like to have a couple more. So our focus for next year is to get the roster back up to, anywhere between 12 and 14. If we take on any injuries this year, I think that could hurt us. But we definitely have great chemistry within that group, and it's a tight group, and I think that's the positive part about having a small lineup.
The Holy Cross women's basketball team opens up play here. Don't forget, you can watch all those games right here on Regional Radio Sports. Tom Robbins begins his 4th season. Coach, thanks again for your time, and best of luck to the Saints this year.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more of our continuing coverage of Holy Cross men's and women's basketball from the File Center here at McKenna Arena right after this.